What's up, guys? Horror Man back for another review. So today we're going to take a look at the Scream Greats Series 1 Halloween Michael Myers figure. Now this is based on the original Halloween from 1978, and this figure is made by Trick or Treat Studios. So just taking a look at the packaging here, you do have the Scream Greats logo on the top left, Series 1 on the top right with a little bit of like a film effect going on there. You also have the Halloween Michael Myers down here. You got the Trick or Treat Studios logo, and a little bit of the warning on that bottom part of the packaging. Over to the back, you do get a really cool picture of the figure itself. Halloween logo, Michael Myers, Scream Greats logo, the UPC, some different credits, a little bit of warning on there, some really cool images from the movie itself. You can see all those, of Myers, Laurie, some of the other characters from the movie. They've released this figure a few times. The original one they released was like at the Halloween show itself, so it was like the first to convention. And I don't remember if that one was, but I know there is a green overalls version. So if you do want a different version of this figure, there are some other choices. I really do like the packaging itself. Again, it's a really nice nod to that old cult classics and movie maniacs. And if you are a mint and box collector, it has that really nice clear window to showcase the figure itself. But I am going to open it, of course, for this review. So let's go ahead and get this out of the box and a closer look. Alright, so here he is outside of the packaging. And just first look, he does seem pretty cool. I do also think that he's a little bit taller than I was expecting, so we'll check that out later on in some size comparisons. We'll also go over the articulation. There isn't a whole lot. You do get one interchangeable part. You also get a couple different accessories we'll look at. But before we get to all that, let's go ahead and start by taking a look at the head sculpt. Alright, so taking a look at the head sculpt, I really do like this head sculpt. And in all honesty, I really think it's probably the best 1978 head sculpt we've seen on an action figure so far. I think if it would have been for a little bit better paint apps, especially in the eyes, and just a little bit more details in that mask, just to bring it out a little bit more, I think this would have been even better. I've seen people custom paint this and actually add rooted hair to it, and it looks just like the movie. So I do think the sculpt of the mask itself is pretty damn good. I feel like the right side of his face isn't quite as good as the left side. I feel like the cheek should have just been a little bit more defined. I really like the sculpting on the left side of his face. I really think the cheek itself just looks really well done. I love the lines in the mouth and just like under that lip. The lines in the forehead look really nice. And even that seam that's on the side of the mask, that's actually supposed to be there as far as I know. I've definitely seen masks with that, like real life-size masks with that seam. So yeah, I really like this side of the face just a little bit more than the right side. The sculpt on the hair for the most part is pretty nice. I also like the ears, the really good detail in there. And I think the mask at the bottom, how it kind of protrudes out, is pretty cool. It looks more like a mask than just like part of his face. So I definitely like the extra details. I do wish there was a little bit more like hair kind of like around the ears, like just like a couple little separate pieces. It's definitely something you generally see with this mask. But yeah, for the most part, I do think the details are good. And just looking at the back of the hair, again, really nice details in the sculpt. I really like these little pieces at the bottom of it. Definitely looks a bit more realistic. And in case you're wondering, there's no paint on the eyes. It's just all black, so they've kind of just blacked it out, which is common. I'm trying to get the light in there so you can see it. Pretty common for Myers, but usually I know with like the NECA ones, you might get a head sculpt where you can see the eyes, and then a head sculpt where you can't see the eyes, so you kind of have a way to switch it up. Taking a look at the rest of the outfit, starting with the torso, he does have that popped collar, which you always see him rocking in the movies. You got the breast pockets, got a little subtle hint of a shirt here, just kind of blacked out, no real detail to it. Some nice details in the neck, so nice differentiation between the neck, the mask, and that little shirt. It's not all just one painted piece or anything, it's all sculpted. There's a lot of wrinkles in the actual coveralls or his like mechanic suit, but I do welcome extra sculpting. I mean, there isn't a lot of articulation here, so they kind of did a little bit more detail in terms of the wrinkles and the details in the outfit. You just have the basic relaxed hands going on. No real details with like blood or anything like that. Again, this is a clean version of Michael Myers, so you don't see any of the bullet holes or anything like that. Over to the back, same good details in there. You do have that like waistband. You can see the difference in the way that looks. You got the pockets in the back. And of course you can see that popped up collar, and you can see a little bit of wrinkling in there, which looks really nice. Definitely some nice wrinkling in the hands. Again, these are going to be more of those relaxed hands, but they do look really good. And you can see the veins on like the reverse, like just the top of the hand. So yeah, really nice details in those hands. Finally, down to the lower part of the figure. Again, really nice details in the sculpting. Not as much wrinkling in the lower half. You do get some like lines around the knees, and then a little bit of wrinkling down to the shins. Again, it looks really good. A little bit of details in the back as well. I like the wrinkling in the back, like behind the knees, really nice. Standard kind of work boots. They look really nice. Got like a two-tone look to them. You can see a little bit of wear. You know, like I said, it's basically going to be your clean Michael Myers. Nice treads on the bottom. You do have the peg holes just in case you want. You really don't need a stand with this figure. He stands just fine. Alright, so taking a look at the articulation here, just like the other Trick or Treat Studios figures, this one is definitely very limited with articulation. So again, if you're interested in this line, you know, go into the line knowing that. Again, it's comparable to like the old Staction figures like Movie Maniacs and NECA Cult Classics. So taking a look at the head articulation, they did do really nice articulation in the head sculpt. So of course you got to get that tilt if you've got a Michael Myers figure, and he does have plenty of tilt. You can look down a little bit, you can look up okay, not the best. You can rotate in case you want to do that. Rotate all the way to the left and to the right, no problems there. The tilt action is pretty good though. There's no articulation in the waist, there's no articulation in the legs. You're only going to have it in your arms, so you can go all the way up, go all the way down, and then you can go all the way out. So you can get a T-pose with this guy, which is nice. No articulation in the feet, but the wrist can, like the hands can rotate if you want. So yeah, not too much articulation here. Now, even though it doesn't have articulation in the elbows, they did include this interchangeable arm, which is going to give you the pose that you need for the knife. So in order to get this in there, just pop out that arm, and you just basically have that straight kind of peg on here with that nub, and then you just have the peg hole. And then you're just going to take that new arm, plug that in, and then you could rotate it. That way you now have that extra elbow pose. Not elbow articulation, but instead of that straight arm, you now have that bent elbow, which is really cool. Besides that interchangeable arm, you do get a couple of accessories here. So first and foremost, you do get his infamous kitchen knife. And I do think it looks pretty good. It is going to be, again, that clean look, just like his outfit. It's got the clean look, so you have no blood on here. And then you do have a little bit of detail in that handle. Here he is holding the kitchen knife, and he does have a really nice grip on it. And then there's also rotation in the wrist as well, which is nice. So you can get a couple different poses out of it. You can always have the knife go in opposite direction in like a downward stabbing motion. So definitely have some options with that extra arm. So I like that. You also have his pumpkin, which is that original 1978 pumpkin. Really nice details on this. You can see a little bit of yellow like on the inner part of the pumpkin, so kind of like the guts on the inside. It's a little bit different color than the outer part of the pumpkin. Some little nicks and bruises and things like that all around. Some nice sculpting just in the pumpkin itself. If you want just a regular pumpkin, you can just kind of spin it around. But I like the little crooked face. He's got that signature line going from the nose to the mouth. And just a little bit of like paint wash on there, which looks really nice. No light effect, which kind of sucks. I would love to see that. It's traditional for a lot of Halloween figures to include that lighted pumpkin, so we don't get it here. But overall, a little array of accessories and interchangeable parts. For the first comparison, here he is next to the original Halloween 1978 Michael Myers made by NECA Toys. And I really feel like this figure was fully inspired by that original NECA Toys figure. You can see that the size of these are almost the exact same height. They really have a lot in common. The biggest difference is you definitely see some different tones in the mask and in the hands. He's definitely got more tan look for that original NECA figure, whereas this one has a little bit more of like just a kind of neutral tone to his skin. So I do like them both. I love that I have that original NECA figure, but obviously like all the years have gone by, and of course sculpting changes. But I really do like the head sculpt, particularly on the Trick or Treat Studios more. But it is cool to see these next to each other. For the next comparison, here he is again with that same NECA Halloween Michael Myers figure, and then also the Loomis that came with this Michael Myers. So this is part of that original Night He Came Home box set, which include part of the front of the Michael Myers house, and then it also included Dr. Loomis. And I do think he scales really nice with this Trick or Treat Studios version. Here he is with the Halloween 2 Ultimate Michael Myers, and you can see he's definitely shorter than this Trick or Treat Studios figure. Now this version also comes in a box set with Dr. Loomis. I have that set, but I haven't opened it. It's just kind of something I kept mint in box. But seeing as how he's shorter than this version, Loomis will be pretty short compared to him. But overall, I think you could probably make it work. Here he is next to the Modern Trilogy, which is the 2018 Michael Myers, the Halloween Kills Michael Myers, and then the Halloween Ends Michael Myers. And they're all made by NECA Toys. And again, you can see they're just a little shorter than the Trick or Treat Studios. Here he is next to Freddy Krueger from Nightmare on Elm Street Part 1 and Jason Voorhees from Friday the 13th Part 3. And that does have a custom freak hockey mask. Both figures are made by NECA Toys, and again, you can see they're just a little short next to Michael Myers. Here he is with the Predator, based on the original movie, and he's got the battle damage. And then you have the Jason from the Friday the 13th remake from 2009. Now, of course, the Predator is a large character, and in this particular Jason is very tall. But as you can see, Michael Myers is still pretty close in height to the Predator, and definitely taller than Jason. So definitely a little big. For your last 7-inch scale comparison, here he is next to some random figures, mostly NECA. You also have a Bandai Stranger Things Eddie Munson figure. You got the Shelley from the Sin City. You got Jamie Lee Curtis based on the Halloween 2018 Laurie Strode. You got the Michael J. Fox from Back to the Future. And then you have Casey Jones from the 1990 TMNT movie. And again, Michael Myers just looks a little too tall next to all these characters. Here he is next to some of the retro NECA Toys figures, which sometimes can scale pretty well with these Trick or Treat Studios figures. So you have the pumpkin costume kid from the Halloween 3 Season of the Witch movie. You have Michael Myers from Halloween 2. And then you also have Laurie Strode and Dr. Loomis also from Halloween 2. And they're all made by NECA Toys. And for the most part, they don't look too bad with Michael Myers. Obviously, this Myers is a little tall, but Laurie and Dr. Loomis don't look too bad with this figure. So if you wanted to display these next to each other, they don't look too bad. Here he is next to some random Michael Myers figures. So you have the NECA Toonie Terrors figure, you have the Funko 5-Star, a couple other Funko mini figures, and then of course you have the Mezco 112 Collective. And you can see how much bigger this is compared to all those. Here he is next to the Killer Clowns from Outer Space Slim figure, and you can see how much taller he is than Michael Myers. I'm pretty sure Slim is supposed to be about 7'2", but I have read things where he's supposed to be like 9 foot tall, but just watching the movie, I think this is about how tall Slim would be next to Michael Myers. So I do think they look pretty cool. Now I will say, this Michael Myers figure feels like a better quality figure than Slim. Slim just is very light and very hollow, whereas this has a little bit of more weight to it. It feels a bit more like what I'm used to. And then for your final comparison, here's a little size comparison of the different pumpkins based on the Halloween 78 Michael Myers. So you have the original NECA Toys version, and that came with that Night He Came Home box set. You have the Mezco 112 collective version. You have this new Trick or Treat Studios 78 version. And then you also have the Trick or Treat Studios ornament. And some of these actually do light up, especially the larger one. The NECA one will light up. It just requires the push button activate, so it kind of has this flashing kind of look going on. And the Mezco one does light up, just a little hard to see under these lights, and this doesn't light up that bright. But I do wish this newer one had that function. Alright, so that's my review of the Screen Greats Series 1 Halloween Michael Myers made by Trick or Treat Studios. While it doesn't have tons of articulation or loaded with different head sculpts and accessories like you see with some different brands out there, I do think that they hit the right notes with this figure. The head sculpt in particular, I think they've done a really good job with, and I do like the accessory, I like the interchangeable arm, and I definitely like that inclusion of the pumpkin. That said, I definitely wouldn't have been opposed to a little bit more, like another left arm with possibly like the bent elbow or some kind of pose. I definitely would have loved to seen a light inside of that, Halloween pumpkin. It's just such a great sculpt. It would have just completed it and kind of gave it a little extra, just because you're not getting the articulation with this figure. You kind of want to add a little extra to it without having to completely, retool an entire figure. I think that light bulb would have been a cool little function. A bloody knife would have been a nice extra. And only having a head sculpt with blacked out eyes kind of sucks too, because it really limits your photography. Like, I can get the blacked out eyes just by positioning the lighting differently. So I don't know, there's a couple options left to do, so I'm sure we're going to see variations of this figure. I think one of the easiest variants would be just to do that ghost sheet version. Now, all those extra pieces would be cool, and it could happen eventually. I definitely wouldn't be surprised considering how expensive the Halloween 1978 license is. I really wouldn't be surprised to see Trick or Treat Studios offer more variations of this, like a battle damage version with, bullet holes, a bloody knife, maybe some bloody hands, blood on his shoes, blood on the outfit. It's just an easy way to do another variation of this figure without overhauling it. So yeah, overall I'm pretty happy with this guy, and I think for anybody looking for that Halloween 1978 version of Myers that can kind of fit in with especially the older NECA figures, I think you'll love this figure. Now, for people looking for something that's got the articulation, everything to go along with like the NECA Ultimate, you might criticize this one because it's definitely not going to be in line with those. Again, it's more of like a staction figure. So definitely go into this line knowing that, and I think you'll be pretty happy. So thanks for watching my review. If you have a comment or question, go ahead and leave it. If you liked the video, go ahead and leave a like. And until next time, guys, see ya.